Why is communication the highest form of intimacy? Why is it that we struggle so much with communication? What's God's view on it? Let's talk about it. Baby, you want to pray us in?
I surely do.
Holla at me.
Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for another opportunity to come together for your glory, Lord. I pray over every person's life that is in this room, dear Jesus, that we just live for your glory. And I pray for the person watching this podcast right now, Lord, that they just fulfill the mission that you have for them. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Bless it. Go ahead. Introduce who we got.
So, y'all, I'm super excited because
excited
we
as well.
have the man behind the podcast. We have Marcus Thornton here.
Call him by his entertainment name.
Marcus?
Call him
We
by
have
his
Famous in the building.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing?
And we have his beautiful wife, my cousin, Quanice.
Hi,
And we're
guys.
so excited.
This
to
is
have
my
you.
vision of a wife.
Ooh.
Queenies.
Ooh, I
Talk
like it.
about it.
I like
Y'all, the
it.
jeans is strong, though.
Talk
okay?
about it.
What's up, y'all?
Yeah, we're
Thank
so
y'all for
excited.
having us.
Oh, we're super excited about this because, you know, we know y'all, right? And just the wisdom that y'all have to share. I'm just excited about us being able to talk about this openly. We really want to dig into communication, right? Why is this God's highest form of intimacy? Why did he create communication to be so intimate in the first place, right? Why is it that we struggle with it though, right?
We do.
We struggle with it a lot, right? And I guess that's where the questions start. Like with y'all, when it comes to marriage, would you say, and why would you say that communication is like the hardest thing?
Oh,
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I think I would say communication is the hardest thing because feelings are involved. Feelings are involved. Communication may not be interpreted the way that you mean, you know? I don't know. I think it's like a difficult part of marriage. And like, why is it so hard? Why is it so hard, babe?
Oh man. Okay. So communication. I guess it's hard because first, if you grew up not knowing how to communicate, that's hard. You know.
There we go.
If you don't know how to express yourself, that's hard.
Yeah.
And especially if you don't want to hurt somebody else's feelings, you know. So I think it's a lot that goes into trying to communicate your thoughts, your expressions, and try to understand where the other person's coming from. So it's a lot that goes into that.
That's so interesting because what you said at first was, you know, we're not really taught how to communicate.
No.
Right? If we're honest, right? And it's not a shot at our parents. We love our parents.
Yeah.
But I only speak from my own upbringing. I didn't want to communicate like that.
Yeah.
Right? It was just a different level of communication that they had, and it was, you said feelings, and it was like it was void. From one side, it was void of feelings, and from the other side, like you wanted to give them all the feelings, and it wasn't effective. It wasn't effective. So why do you think that is? Why do you think the older generation has such a hard time communicating with one another?
I feel like before we go into the older generation, I feel like I got to talk about the fact that I didn't come from a 2-parent household. So communication would be different between husband and wife in my aspect. So it's like I learned from the bottom up. By God's guidance, that's how I'm able to effectively communicate. The older upbringing, like our elders, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how much differently they communicated, but it seemed one-sided. Like the man communicates in a stronger power than the woman does. The woman's kind of like, from our culture, the woman's more submissive, quiet, and just does what the man says to do. They have their structure, like a daily thing where, you know, the wife is just taking care of the house. The wife makes sure the man is served every day for dinner. And I don't know how much say the women had in our culture, but I mean, I could be wrong. What you think?
I think that the older generation, they had so many traumas that they went through.
Yeah.
Especially our culture, we're Cape Verdean. So a lot of the times a parent would leave and go to a completely different country to send money home to take care of their children. Their children would be staying with aunties or bouncing from house to house. And then there's a level of trauma from that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And not to mention, we don't know everything that happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like that generation has a lot of unprocessed traumas that translated into how they communicate with one another that might not be the most effective way, that translated how they communicated with us as children. Then also, you know,
It just keeps going down.
yeah, you heard a lot of the times
Yeah.
like children should be seen and not heard. And then
Yeah.
it's kind of like, so yeah, that's,
That was good that you just said that, seen and not heard. How many times have we heard that coming up?
yeah.
Yeah.
Seen and not heard.
Yeah.
So when that happens too, their traumas that they haven't dealt with, you know, and then we have a set of traumas that if they don't go unchecked will mess up us in our relationship.
And that's what a generational curse is to me, right? Are things that have happened, problems that have happened in the past, and they go unchecked, right? We don't deal with them. They couldn't talk to anybody either. My dad would always say, well, that's what I saw my father do. And he never had those conversations with his dad, right? And so he grew up trying to figure it out for himself. And he would always say, well, I did my best. You know, and although I can disagree with that to a point, you know, I had to come within myself and say, okay, you know what? He did do his best. The question for me is, because I look at our generation and we want more, but we also have the opportunity to also get more because the culture has changed. And I think because the culture has changed, that's also allowed us to kind of open up and say, hey, what can we do within this? That gives us power.
I also think that what you were saying was really good. I also think that back then they didn't really care what their kids saw growing up, but us, we care more of how we are leading by example for our children so that they can lead by example for their children. I think they just took care of what they needed to take care of and, you know, supported the family as best they could, but they did what they knew.
Right. The responsibility and the roles were different, right?
Yeah.
The man worked, the woman cleaned the house.
Yeah.
Well, 2024 different.
Different,
right?
different, big
Very
different.
much so.
So we can't really go off of, you know, what they did because the culture was different. And that's why roles in general are really based off of opportunity. Like what's available, what can be done, what's the culture like? And we really have to bend it in that way in order to really communicate effectively as to what works for our household, because that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
So
Every household's different.
every household is different. So when it comes to communicate, like how do y'all make it effective with like your marriage? Because it's tough. So like how do y'all make it effective?
We're still learning. We're still learning.
Talk to me about that though.
But man, so we've been married for how long now, babe?
You tell me.
Oh my God.
You tell me.
So we've been married for 11 years, right?
Since 2012.
Yeah.
It'll be 12 years.
12 years. Going on 12 years.
Yeah.
So it's a process, man. I know going into marriage, I was very selfish, and I learned that about myself because I thought it was still me, like, you know, coming from high school, then I got married or whatever. I still wanted to go out when I wanted to go out, just move on my time. But at that time, I, you know, realized probably 2-3 years later, yo, it's not about you no more. You got kids, you know, you have to move accordingly to how your household needs to move. So, yeah, so I was like, yo, I have to ask her for like certain stuff, not for permission, but for like her understanding and like what do you communicate, like what do you have going on today, how does your schedule align with my schedule, you know? So that's what I'm starting to realize.
How did y'all do it before you got married, right?
So far as what, like
Communication, right? Because you see when like we get married, all of a sudden the communication changes. But it's like we get it before we get married. When like we're dating, we communicate pretty well.
But I think it's not as much responsibility.
that's what it is.
It's
Yeah.
not as much responsibility. So you ain't really got to tell him where you going or what's going on or what your plans is for the weekend. If you got plans with your family, you don't really have to communicate but so much when you're dating.
Yeah,
but when you're in a marriage, it's a whole nother level of communication.
Yeah.
And I won't really checking for you like that. Like if you went out and did your thing, you just
He's
did
lying,
your thing.
guys. He's lying. He's lying.
Nah, like I won't checking for you like that.
He clocked my location.
That's crazy.
That's crazy because
But how about y'all? Like, how was it before y'all got married?
it was probably the same thing.
Very
because-
surface level.
Very surface level. Just like you said, once you got married, like everything changed because it's not about just communicating about like the surface level thing, like not even like what are we doing this weekend, but it's like what are you thinking in the inmost of your being? How are you feeling right now?
Yeah.
What's the meaning of life? Like it's so much that has to be shared with the other person so they can understand why the way that you are and how you tick. And it's funny because as time passes and they see your habits and why you are the way you are, sometimes things come to the surface in communication that you had no idea about yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like we've had those aha moments before that made me go, oh, that's why I'm crazy.
Yeah. But it's something that we're not taught. Like marriage should be taught. Like we, like anything else, we got to go to school for, right? I can't get on the road without having a license. I have to go through training. I have to be prepared because so many people are affected if I'm not. But that's not the way with marriage. So we come in and we don't know each other and we affect each other in a way that is like damaging and dangerous.
Yeah.
So answer this. Imagine if there was a class that had to be taught on marriage. How many people do you really think would be married?
I think that in this generation is different, right? I think in this generation, if there was a class for marriage, I think in this generation, everybody would want to take it. And the reason why I say that is because our generation wants to know how to be married. We're like, wait a minute. We kind of see it as an opportunity to seek the truth. We just don't know. It's just clashing, right? And we want to know, okay, how do we make this thing work? You know, it has to be better than this. It has to be better than what our parents had. How do we make this work? And you go and you try to find those answers, right? When we say I do, we're excited. We're like, yes, I get to build with this person. But then because we haven't really talked about much at all, we get in marriage and then we start seeing the inner person come out. We're like, I don't know you.
Right.
The reason I say that, how many people do you think would actually be married? Because there's a lot of marriages that aren't truly like marriages. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like there's a lot of people that are in it for the wrong reasons. There's a lot of people that are just getting married to just get married. So I say that because I think a lot more people would be more into marriage if there was a class, you know, being taught. It'd be more official marriages rather than, oh, we just gonna get married. You know what I mean? Like more meaningful marriages rather than just get married. Yeah. And it's also like things like that need to be taught in a marriage class like that. For example, is the husband and the wife that are going to get married, their beliefs. Because if y'all's beliefs don't align,
it's tough. It's tough. You know, it's like,
that's important.
it is important. It's like two eggs, right? On the surface, you have these two white shells, but underneath, what does a yolk look like? If one is rotten and one is good, right? And you mix them together, well, now they're both rotten, right? Everything has to be equal. And we don't talk about these things because we lead with the flesh versus the spirit. It's like, man, you look good. You make me feel good about myself. So that's all that matters. We'll work everything else out later. I want you, instead of saying, I wonder what you're like on the inside.
Yeah.
And then we bring kids into that. And we're not equally yoked. And then we wonder why marriages don't last.
She's not talking about me, y'all. So I'm just letting y'all know she's not talking about me.
No, we're not talking about each other. I'm just saying, like, that's why I think what you were saying was valuable in regards to having a marriage class.
Yeah.
We're taught everything else. Why are we not taught about marriage? You know what I mean?
Because
So I think it would be so valuable to require that before getting married.
Now, I do know that there are a lot of people that want to get married, or they're looking for that significant other, you know,
Yeah.
and they just don't know exactly how to find that person.
Yeah. So when it comes to communication, right? How do you feel like your communication has changed? Like, give us some examples,
From
right?
the beginning of their marriage.
From the beginning
now,
of
right?
your marriage until now. It's been 11 years, right? How was it in the beginning? How has it changed up until now?
I could start.
Yeah, please start so I can feed off of you.
I would say that it has changed because we actually listen to one another now. We actually consider how the other one's feeling with certain things. We can tell how someone's feeling just by their posture, their reactions. Like, you can see all of that in someone's body.
Yeah.
So
And also through text message.
Ooh,
text
That's
message.
the
What do you
right
mean
there,
through
babe.
text message?
please elaborate
Yeah.
on
Because
that.
the way and I'm guilty too, because there's certain words that I type to you that let you know I'm annoyed.
Yeah.
Like ITE or IGHT
I catch that.
or yup. I be like yup, like yo,
Yeah.
nah.
Very, very
I
short.
catch
This,
that.
yeah,
He
I'm
likes
very
to do
short.
that when I have to go to work. Yup.
Yeah.
Yup.
No, but like it's different through text message, your emotion, your posture, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just learning one another.
Yeah, learning one another, and that just comes with time.
Yeah.
So like when you go into just dating somebody, you know, you don't really get to know them. You're just looking at their outside, their physical appearance, how they make you feel, like you said earlier. But then once you start to live with somebody, you be like, oh man, I really didn't know you were this way, or okay, this is good about you. Oh, this is horrible about you.
Yikes.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's like you really got to study that person and really know what you're getting into, because if you don't, I mean, you're in for a rude awakening that you might not even, you know, be a great fit for that person.
I love what you said.
I think a lot of it
Yeah.
also is us becoming closer to God. You know, we learn better how to communicate with one another by
Yeah.
becoming closer to God, because we know that we are one. It's not one over the other. We're together. So just knowing like our place and how God created us and what we're supposed to do as the husband and as the wife.
Yeah.
And treating each other how we would want to be treated, hearing each other how we would want to be heard, praying for one another, praying about something that may be affecting the marriage. All of those things play a part.
You know, it's really difficult in the moment, right, to communicate effectively, because like we said earlier, it's like it's just feelings involved, right? And you know, I know there's been times with me and Amy, especially first couple. I always go back to the first couple years of marriage because I had no idea, right, what I was doing, and I would try so hard to control myself until I didn't want to control myself, right? It came to the point where I understood the reason why I'm talking to you a certain way is because I want to, right? And it was a sad thing to come to, but I allowed myself to get to a point where I was annoyed. I allowed myself to let my emotions take over, and now I'm talking to you a certain way, or I'm speaking to you a certain way. And what text message has done, I think, I'm so glad you brought up text message, Marcus. That's so huge. It has hurt communication. It doesn't help it, right? It gives you an easy out, right? Because they can't really see what you're saying. And although if you understand people, you can understand, oh, wait a minute. Like
He's irritated.
Yeah, he's irritated or he's mad, but you can't really prove it. So when you ask, oh, was everything okay today? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just busy. You know, I was just running around. I was just doing something quick.
You're hiding behind the text message. You're hiding behind the screen.
You're hiding behind the screen.
I love that you mentioned that because when texting first became a thing, yeah, we're part of that generation where we didn't have texting at one point. But I remember when it first became a thing, I was like, why are they texting me when they can just call me? Like, this is crazy. And now I'm at the point where my phone will ring and I'm like, why didn't they just text me? This is insane. Like a complete change in how we communicate. And I think sometimes it is easy to hide behind a text message when you are upset.
Well,
know what I mean?
you learn how not to talk to people, right? It makes it easy not to have to talk to you. And that's what we actually need to do is talk. But,
And listen.
And say that again. Say that again, Quinice.
And listen.
If the highest form of intimacy is communication, the highest form of communication is listening. James 1:19 says, "Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and therefore you slow to anger." Right? That's the highest form, and that's something that I had a problem with, is listening. I can hear you, right? I can hear you, and I'm, my mouth is shut, but I'm not listening. I'm just waiting for an opening, So let me ask y'all that. Why do we have such a hard time listening to each other?
What has listening done for you, babe?
Oh man. So listening, man, it has helped me out a lot because if you just take the time to slow down and listen to what your partner has to say, vice versa, that person or the significant other may be able to help you solve your problems because the past week she's been solving a lot of my problems. So just they know you better than you know yourself. So that's why it's good for you to slow down and just think, just to see what they have to say about whatever is going on. What you think?
Also implement it because it's not just about listening, but listening, receiving, and doing what was told. Not told like, oh, you have to do this, but just a piece of advice, is important. And I think sometimes we get caught up in our own self where we can't listen. Go ahead.
And sometimes we don't like to be wrong. So it's like, I know my way's better, type of thing. Like you can't be right. I'm always right type of thing. So we just don't want to be wrong.
I love that she talked about the importance of implementing because a lot of the times in a conversation, you can outwardly say, like if you're telling me something that I might need to work on, I can say, yeah, you're right. And then kind of it'll be dead. But there's been times where I might not say, yeah, you're right at that moment, but you'll see it in a change in me, right?
Yeah.
And then also it's important that if you do see your spouse trying and changing, it's important for you to say, I see you. You know what I mean? There's more to communication sometimes than just it's the back and forth. It's the processing of it. It's the change, the implementing the change. And then when you're married to that person, it's saying, I see you and I see what you're doing.
So it's visual too.
Yeah, visual too. And also, once y'all understand what one another is trying to do, things get a lot easier. And you feel that. For the past week, we've been feeling, hey, we're not arguing a lot. Things are seeing.
Not just a week, babe.
No, I'm just saying, like, I know it's been longer than that, but I'm just saying, like,
this week has probably had a lot of things.
Happen, so far as my business, like you've been able to help me and just, throw out ideas and stuff like that. Come on shoots with me,
Because life be happening.
That's what I'm just about to say. Life be happening. We have kids now, 3 kids, your job, my business and stuff is just very demanding. But this last week, it's aligned where you've been able to help me, just give suggestions, be there, and just, it's been very, very eye-opening. So appreciate you.
Mate. You see me?
I see you.
Me,
I see you.
You see that? I love what we just said. It said, do you see me? Right? And that's really what we want. We just want to be seen.
For sure.
We just want to be heard. We want to feel significant. We want to feel important. We want to feel valued. It's like, oh, you see me. And that's why I love the appreciation point afterwards. Like, hey, thank you. You know, I really appreciate you doing that. Like,
Yep.
it's one thing where somebody hear you like, okay, yeah, I got you. And they never do it. It's like, well, you always say that. And that just destroys the trust. It's like,
Right.
oh, you really don't value anything that I'm saying because you never do anything.
Yeah.
But when you do it, when you follow through, it allows both of us to be like, wait a minute. That's why I married you. It's more than just a flesh thing. It was something in your spirit that said, I know you. As a matter of fact, I know you so well that there's something about you that I can build with, right? It's everything that we've learned that affects that. But once we get into what y'all said, that alignment, what it allows us to do is forget about all those things and say, okay, what is it that we need to be aligned on, right? Let me listen to you. Let me clear my mind. Let me just listen to you. And you know what? Let me implement what you have to say. It's like a testing.
Yeah.
Let me test this out. Okay, I'm gonna do it. And then all of a sudden it's like everything starts to align, all because we're just obeying the principles that God set before us with marriage, right?
Yeah.
Listen to one another, build one another, love one another, submit to one another, sacrifice one another. When we just obey, it's like, oh man, this week was beautiful. Well, we're just being obedient.
Yep.
We're just being obedient. And that's what communication is. To me, communication is a way of being obedient or disobedient, right? It's a way of understanding. And if we follow those principles that are laid out in the Bible to really try to understand each other, like the one we just said, be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. Just follow that one principle. And then just watch what happens. Because now that you're talking to each other, now I just got to listen to you. And maybe I have something to say, but maybe I need to understand what you're saying more. So now I have to dive deeper and ask you those questions. Well, why do you feel like that? Right? The marriage is therapy. Therapy's in the home. Because when you go outside the home to get therapy, now you're asking somebody that you don't know and that you're paying to listen to you. You don't really care what they really, you know, you're going to try to implement some of it, but they don't know you like that.
They don't.
Yeah.
And you're not going to give them everything about you.
No.
Right? Because you don't want that. But when you're at home, that's therapy. Because now not only do you have somebody that can listen to you, but now it's like, you know what? Not only am I going to listen to you, but I'm going to show you how much I love you because I'm going to do what you're telling me to do.
For somebody like you who is like speaking is your thing, that's your gift. I can imagine that, you know, when you're home and you're able to kind of take that off a little bit and have somebody to just really share with that it's like helpful to your spirit, right?
It's rejuvenating. It's like we're replenishing to the spirit because it's two spirits like connecting, and you just feel whole. You just feel complete. There's no fighting. There's no arguing. None of those things that'll drag you down. It's like, yo, we're really connecting. But really, we're built to connect. It's us that forces that connection away. We force the disconnect. And then we wonder why, man, like you can love somebody and not like them. But you can't like somebody and not love them. Like, especially in marriage, but we're the ones that separate that. But it's like rejuvenating when we can sit and we don't have the TV on. Oh my gosh, that changes things. There's no distractions. There's no distractions in communication. And it's like, man, you're listening to me. Oh, this is nice. And then you're talking to me and I'm listening to you. It's like, oh, this is nice.
The reason I pointed that out is because we're on like two opposite ends of the spectrum, right? So I have no problem conversing with people and I'm a very social person. It's just like the innermost of me is very guarded. So I say that, and I was asking you opposite ends of the spectrum because it makes me feel full when I'm able to put that internal guard down and have a real conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And bear those parts of me that I don't give to everybody.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, two opposite ends. You're pouring out information all the time, but maybe not. I don't know how I'm trying to explain on your behalf, but like I'm just saying that, you know, it's just
it creates balance.
Two different cups of sand pouring into the same cup.
And which creates that balance, and the balance is an amazing thing because what balance is for us to be able to move forward, right? It's not for us to be stagnant. It creates balance so we can move forward, right? We can move forward towards that destination, but communication is key. All problems fall underneath communication.
Exactly.
So that's why understanding that is so important. And I love what y'all said. Like, Marcus talks about this week, and I love this week because forget about last
Yeah,
week.
because you got this
Like
example
this
right
week,
here.
this is. I don't remember last month. I
This
remember
week was
this
golden.
week.
This week was great.
And then what you can do is just try to make this next week better. Than last
Yeah.
week.
Boom, boom.
It's all truly a learning process.
Yeah.
Like you said, we weren't taught this from our parents. We weren't taught this in the community. This isn't something that we were taught overnight. So it's all a learning process. And what's that saying? When it's worth it, nothing comes easy, or something like that. When it's worth the sacrifice, something like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't come easy.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, it doesn't come easy. So
Yeah.
communication and marriage, it's tough, but as you continue to grow in your marriage and continue to grow closer to the Lord, it gets better.
Because
It is worth it.
if you want a hard life, do the easy things.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want an easy life, you got to do the hard things, and then life becomes easy.
I got it. Nothing worth having comes easy.
Damn.
There we go.
Damn.
And also, I know, like, just looking at other marriages, we knew what not to do, So we took from, some people that have some great marriages, and we're like, I like how they do that, and carry
Amy and
themselves.
Apollos.
And we just, try to, we have not role models, but people that we
absolutely
look up to. And, we just try to follow the Bible and follow, happily marriages.
And that's why it's great for married couples to be together.
Yep.
Because it sharpens us, right? Like y'all sharpen us too. It's not just one-sided. It's like we can all learn from each other. So everybody's watching, right? We'll sit and see how y'all handle it. And not to pick at anything, but to learn from. I'm like, oh, what can I learn from it? I don't blame Adam or Eve. I just want to learn from it, right? I don't want to repeat that.
I'm just glad it wasn't me.
Me too.
Can you imagine to be like Amy and Apollos?
But it's so much to learn from. So when
But it is us.
we're sitting,
Yeah.
it is. There you go. It is us. They are us, right? But what can we learn from each other is key. How can we implement something that we see y'all do into our marriage to help us grow? How can y'all implement something that y'all see us do to help y'all grow, right? Because we all want the same things in marriage.
We do.
Like God built it the same for everybody. It's just up to us to get to that level.
And it's beautiful.
Marriage is amazing. I tell people all the time, get you a wife, bruh. And I say that with all seriousness. It's like, get you a wife. Of course, somebody who loves the Lord and who has your best interests at heart, because that type of wife, she ain't got nothing to worry about.
Nothing.
I can't imagine dating in this time that we're in right now. I cannot imagine dating somebody.
It's tough. It's a lot of hurt. It's a lot of pain, right? So a lot of the dating world now is a lot of people that are hurt and they're looking to be fixed, but we weren't designed to fix each other. Yeah. We were designed to build each other and to help each other, right? But during the fall, now we got to try to fix things, but that's not our design. So we go against our design. I do want to encourage
our brothers and sisters in Christ who are trying to date right now, though, that don't be discouraged. Lean into God, lean into His will for you, remain in constant prayer. But that person out there that He has,
your
for
person,
you
your person is there.
Yeah, and I also want to encourage people who aren't in Christ. Right? Marriage is a beautiful thing that God created. And for me, I really got closer to God when I wanted to understand marriage. And when I wanted to understand marriage and I started to become aligned more with God, I became more aligned with you. And it was just a different understanding that I had. Like, marriage just can't work marriage is for everybody. It's supposed to be for everybody. And if we understand how God created marriage, everybody can have that. You know what I mean? So just a thought. Just a thought. Marcus and Nene, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all.
Thanks for having us.
We're gonna continue to learn from y'all too, right? And that's how we sharpen one another. So I'm Apollos. My vision of a wife, Amy.
I'm Marcus. My vision of a wife, Nene.
Hey, and we are Mending Eden. We love y'all.
Peace.
Peace.